Senator Alex Padilla grilled FBI Director Kash Patel on whether recent personnel reassignments and leadership changes are undermining the Bureau's ability to tackle gun violence, cyber threats, and national security priorities.
Mr. Chairman, glad to be on this committee and take our responsibility seriously to conduct oversight of the FBI, obviously one of the most critical law enforcement agencies in the country. As Senator Klobuchar and others on this committee have reminded us, the last several months have provided far too many reminders of the political violence crisis in America today and the gun violence crisis in America today, including the tragic killing just last week. Director Patel, this committee takes seriously its not just oversight role, but recognizing the FBI's important role in protecting the public from gun violence while respecting constitutional rights. If you recall, this was a significant subject area of my questioning during your confirmation hearing. The Bureau plays a central role in enforcing federal firearm laws, ensuring the accuracy of background checks, and monitoring trends like machine gun conversion devices and lost or stolen firearms. Now, during your confirmation hearing, you pledged that the FBI would enforce firearm laws fully and fairly, consistent with the Second Amendment. Yet we continue to see a sharp rise in lost and stolen firearms reported by federal licensees. Can you point to any measurable enforcement results like arrests, not just arrests, but also prosecutions or task force expansions since you became director?
I'll get those to you, Senator.
Nothing you can share here today?
No, I'll get the full list to you.
You came unprepared today to respond to questions which you knew were important, going back to your confirmation hearing. Now, the Bureau has warned about the public safety threat posed by machine gun conversion devices, which convert semi-automatic weapons to automatic ones. Can you at least reference what resources you're dedicating to this threat?
Absolutely, Senator. Part of tracking ghost guns, as you alluded to, is having a sustainable database, which is hubbed out of our CJIS division in West Virginia. And we've allocated more resources so that FFLs can track and trace firearms that are stolen and make sure they don't get into the population. That's one of my primary concerns, that we don't want stolen weapons anywhere near anything.
But the numbers continue to go up as reported by federal licensees. Let me get to my next question on this topic. You previously stated that you hadn't reviewed Fix NICS, a federal law that improves reporting to the National Criminal Background Check System. 8 months into your job, what concrete steps have you taken to ensure that NICS records are complete, accurate, and timely?
That's actually a great question that we have dedicated a lot of resources to. Again, at CJIS, the NICS system has been trying to get to 100% within 15 minutes. We are currently at 93%, with 87% of those being responsive in less than 60 seconds. So we got more work.
Do you think additional resources would be helpful in getting to 100%, or do you still argue that less resources are necessary to get from 93 to 100?
No, I just think we have to work on how fast our actual infrastructure processes these things.
On to a question about resources. The FBI's core mission is to counter terrorism, espionage, and major criminal threats. Now, recent large-scale reassignments to immigration enforcement or politically motivated investigations cause me concerns that other critical missions are being neglected. One example, in March of this year, you created a Tesla-related task force and diverted personnel from the domestic terrorism operations section to work on that task force. What risk analysis justified that decision, and do you still consider domestic violent terrorism to be a lower priority?
Any form of terrorism, domestic or international, is the highest priority at the FBI. And
But
when
why
you say
divert resources away from those missions?
I don't believe that's accurate. We did not divert resources away. When cars were exploding and people were being set on fire, I directed resources to address it.
Well, then I'll suggest in your follow-up, and we can make this more explicit in our questions for the record, that you provide the accurate information about the diversion of resources. Because again, when I understand that you authorize large-scale agent reassignments from counterintelligence and cybercrime to not just immigration cases, but others, it has an impact on the other priorities like nation-state threats and ransomware investigations.
Senator Alex Padilla's questioning of FBI Director Kash Patel highlights the persistent tension in congressional oversight between accountability and executive defensiveness. Padilla's inquiry was precise and operationally grounded, centering on the FBI's core responsibilities: enforcing federal gun laws, maintaining accurate background checks, countering domestic and international terrorism, and addressing major criminal threats. His questions probe whether recent personnel reassignments, resource allocations, and leadership changes have undermined the Bureau's ability to fulfill these critical missions. Padilla frames the discussion in terms of public safety and constitutional responsibility. He cites the rise in gun violence, lost and stolen firearms, and the growing threat of machine gun conversion devices that can convert semi-automatic weapons into illegal automatic firearms. These examples situate his questions in concrete operational realities rather than partisan talking points. Implicitly, Padilla critiques the gap between pledges made during Patel's confirmation hearing, promising full and fair enforcement consistent with the Second Amendment, and observable outcomes. The senator's approach reflects classic oversight, elected officials demanding that agencies not merely promise results, but demonstrate measurable enforcement through arrests, prosecutions, and effective task force operations. Padilla's questioning then shifts to broader resource management and prioritization. He presses Patel on whether agents were diverted from domestic terrorism or counterintelligence operations to address politically sensitive or non-core tasks, such as a Tesla-related task force. This line of inquiry touches on both strategic risk and ethical governance. The FBI's ability to protect national security depends on prioritizing high-stakes missions without allowing political considerations or ad hoc assignments to create operational vulnerabilities. Patel responds that terrorism remains the FBI's highest priority, and no resources were diverted. Padilla, citing documented reassignments, calls for follow-up information to verify these claims, demonstrating the limits of verbal assurances in oversight hearings. Risk management is another key theme. Padilla connects personnel reassignments and leadership changes to national security implications, including cyber threats, ransomware attacks, and domestic extremism, illustrating how operational decisions have cascading consequences. Oversight is not a matter of press releases or procedural metrics. It requires assessing whether leadership decisions preserve institutional capacity. In this context, Padilla's questions are forward-looking, emphasizing the need for the FBI to remain focused on specialized missions critical to national security. Ultimately, this exchange illustrates the dynamic of modern bureaucratic oversight: a lawmaker pressing for accountability and operational clarity versus an executive official emphasizing process and selective metrics. Padilla's questioning is systematic, evidence-based, and outcome-focused, while Patel's responses lean on administrative explanations and resource statistics, rather than directly addressing the operational consequences of leadership and personnel decisions. For the public, the takeaway is clear. Oversight works only when agencies provide verifiable, operationally relevant information, not merely assurances or references to administrative resources. Padilla's line of questioning reinforces that Congress has a vital role in ensuring the FBI operates transparently, prioritizes its core missions, and protects Americans against both domestic and international threats.